Hi everyone, Bear from Bear Reads Books. I'm here for another video and this is my first TBR video. And it's going to be my October TBR and it is also another first. It's going to be my very first read-a-thon. If you've been anywhere in BookTube or YouTube for the last couple of weeks, you would have noticed that October is full to bursting with read-a-thons. So for my very first read-a-thon, I've decided to join 3 read-a-thons. So probably the most popular 3 out there, I just thought I'd join those. There's plenty of people doing them. One is Victober, which is focused on Victorian era literature, which I have a little bit of experience around, but I probably should have read more. The second is Spookathon, and I'm guessing that's because we've got Halloween at the end of the month, and that's all about reading thrillers or anything that's spooky or scary. And the third is Gone with the Book, which is modern classics written before or published before 1950. So I think I've got a good cross-section of books from my library that I can tackle over the next month. I may have overcommitted because I do have stuff from my regular TBR that I really do need to finish and that I've already started. If you had a look at my page 112 tag, there were 3 books on the page 112 tag that I said were going to be the next 3 books. Well, I've done 2 out of those 3. I finished Devouring Dark by Alan Baxter, and this time around, Alan, unfortunately, you failed to deliver. It was a 3-star read for me, but I've put another Alan Baxter in for Spook-a-thon, and hopefully it will be a little bit more successful than Devouring Dark. I finished Convenience Store Woman, which was a 4-star read. It was fun and dark and quirky and all sorts of things all at the same time. It was great. I really enjoyed it. So I might do a little bit of a longer review of Convenience Store Woman later. And right now I am reading Murakami, baby. I'm about 150 pages in of a 700 page book for Haruki Murakami's Killing Commendatore. Mixed reviews for this one from the Bookaverse, but I'm a fanboy of Murakami, so I'm going to enjoy it no matter what. So, as I said, first on my TBR is Killing Commendatore by Haruki Murakami. 150 pages in already, and it is just like a normal Murakami. It is dreamy and ebbs and flows, and sometimes it moves slowly and sometimes it moves quickly, and it is characters that can't make decisions, or it is typical Murakami. So I'm a little bit perplexed as to why people didn't enjoy it quite as much as other Murakamis, because it is 100% Murakami and I'm loving it. So that's already started, carry over from the end of September, and my page 112 read, Haruki Murakami's Killing Commendatore. Also from my regular TBR is this battered but beautiful ex-library copy of Sula by Toni Morrison. The second of Toni Morrison's book. I told you I was going to read all of her books in chronological order, and in the beginning of September I read The Bluest Eye. It was as amazing as I remembered reading it 25 years ago. This one written in 1973, so 3 years after The Bluest Eye. Sula, I won't give too much of the story away, but I've just started reading this today. It won't take long, and I didn't do a very long review of The Bluest Eye because I was in Japan, but I am going to do a proper review of Sula once I've finished, so I won't give anything of the story away just yet, but that is highly anticipated by me, so hopefully you enjoy my review of that when that comes out. So that's number 2. Neither of those are related to the 3 read-a-thons though. So now for these 3 read-a-thons, there are dates and conditions around what you should be reading and when you should be reading. I have ignored all of that. So for the 3 read-a-thons, I've really just got to the crux of what the read-a-thon is about, whether it be Victorian era literature, spooky literature, or stuff published before 1950. And I'm going to be reading those any time within October. If I was to limit myself to a 400-page book and try to do it in a week, I would fail dismally. So I'm still doing the read-a-thon. I've picked books that fit the genre and fit the conditions of the read-a-thon, but I'm not limiting myself to time, apart from I will endeavour to finish all of these in October. That's my promise to you and to myself. So let's do Victober first. Victober, Victorian era literature, is stuff that was published in Queen Victoria's lifetime, which is from the early to mid 1800s to 1901. So again, what I found when I went looking for books in my existing library that fitted into this genre, I either found books that I'd read before and I hated, hello Brontes, all of them. Just can't deal with any of the Brontes. So, there was no to the Brontes, but there were other things. The two books that I've got on my list for Victober, one is Thomas Hardy Under the Greenwood Tree, a smaller volume than a lot of the other Thomas Hardys that are out there. It's not epic and vast like a lot of the Thomas Hardys that some other people may be reading in Victober. I haven't seen anyone else pick this one up for Victober. It is one that has been on my shelves for a very long time and never read it. It is one of his earlier works, something a little bit less considered. It's not ranked highly up there in his greatest works, but I'd be interested to see how nicely it is put together. Thomas Hardy's Under the Greenwood Tree. Second for Victober, and a crossover into Spookathon, is Wilkie Collins, The Woman in White. I'm going to read the back of this because it was fascinating. The Woman in White famously opens with Walter Hartwright's eerie encounter on a moonlit London road. Engaged as a drawing master to the beautiful Laura Fairley, Walter becomes embroiled in the sinister intrigues of Sir Percival Glyde and his charming friend Count Fosco, who has a taste for white mice, vanilla bonbons and poison. Yes, so spooky and Victorian. That is two read-a-thons in one. Get in. So this idea came from Supposedly Fun, thank you very much, and I think it's a great idea covering off two read-a-thons at once, because it's a lump of a book. It's 400 to 500 pages, 600 pages of quite small writing, and it's going to be a struggle. So as soon as I get rid of Murakami, I think this will be the base for my month. So once Murakami's finished, this will form the base, then everything else, the smaller books will sit on top. So that is Victober, those two. Now, Woman in White is a crossover, so it fits into Spookathon? Spookathon? It fits into Spookathon as well. My other Spookathon will be The Chrysalids by John Wyndham. If you've never heard of John Wyndham, he is the same guy that did the The Day of the Triffids. He's the same man that wrote The Day of the Triffids. Also a great book turned into a reasonably atrocious television series and movie. So, The Chrysalids, dystopian future type spooky science fiction stuff. So, kind of fits. Why not? And for my Gone with the Book, I'm going with The Street by Ann Petry. Now this is a book that's been on my list for a little while. I think I heard Sean from Sean the Book Maniac talk about this one, and then a few other people have mentioned it as well, that it is seminal reading. And when I looked at the date, it was lovely, 1946, so it fits beautifully in the pre-1950 modern classics. I think it fits. I hope it fits into the term of modern classic. I think on the back of the book it says it's a classic of American realism, and one of the most evocative stories ever set in New York City. There you go, modern classic, 1946, Ann Petry's The Street. On top of that, I have a couple of audio books, one of which I'm almost finished, but we'll call it an October book. That is My Sister the Serial Killer by Oyinkan Braithwaite, a Nigerian writer about sisters living in Lagos in Nigeria. And you can guess by the title that one of the sisters is a serial killer. That is not a joke, it actually is. So that's one I'm almost finished, and it's really good. It was long listed for the Man Booker. I can see why it didn't get shortlisted, but it is good nonetheless. It was good enough to get there, it's good enough to be on my TBR. And then after that finishes, I've got to pick another audiobook, but I'm not entirely sure what yet. It could be something called Silver by Chris Hammer, who is a journalist in Australia that has started writing detective crime thrillers. And the broad criteria for Spook-a-thon was thrillers. So maybe that would fit. It's only just been released this week, so I don't usually do really new releases, so it might be a nice way to get a really new release into my TBR. So that is Chris Hammer, Silver. The only other one on my list is another of Alan Baxter's books, and you remember I chose Alan Baxter as one of my 3 in the page 112 read, and that was called Devouring Dark. That's his most recent one. It's kind of like a supernatural thriller, or in the horror genre. The one, Devouring Dark, the most recent one, I think it's the beginning of a new series, so the characters will carry over. So as such, the first book, while it was good, 3 stars, it didn't have the amount of action that an Alan Baxter book normally does, so it left me a little bit flat and disappointed. So I am going to pick up one of his standalone books that isn't a continuation of a series or part of a series, and it is called, excuse me again, I'm seriously not ready for this. It is called Hidden City. So Hidden City by Alan Baxter. I don't have any details of the story, but it is the one prior to Devouring Dark, a whole fresh set of characters with special powers and supernatural nonsense and goings on. I'm going to read that. So that in total would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Holy crap balls. That is 10 books. So I'm not sure, I may have overcommitted myself. Murakami, I will tear through it because I always do. Sula will be short and sweet. It's a lovely book. I won't be dilly-dallying. Oh, did I miss that? Oh, my other pre-1950 book. Oh, I forgot one. And this fits into the modern classics pre-1950 publication. Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf. I can't believe that I've never read this. I've read other Woolf, I've never read this one. It was on this little book club thing that I joined, if you remember from my very first video. So this is one of the other ones of those. I'm going to read that. So, as a quick run through, I've got Murakami and Morrison, 1 and 2, off my current TBR. For the Gone with the Book, I have The Street by Ann Petry and Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf. For the Victober, I have Under the Greenwood Tree by Thomas Hardy and Wilkie Collins' The Woman in White. And also for Spookathon, I have The Chrysalids by John Wyndham. And also for Spookathon, I have the Alan Baxter, on my Kindle, Alan Baxter. It is called Secret City. So that ends up being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 books, physical books, and 2 audio books. I'm going to be in trouble here. That's a very large commitment. That is 10. 10 things. I'm going to struggle. But you're going to be with me the whole time. If you want to read along any of these books, by all means, come along. Comment down below. Be a part of any or all of these read-a-thons. They are wonderful gatherings of wonderful people. But that's it. But that's me. That's done. That's Bear reading books. I have 10 books to read. I better get cracking. I've made a start on 2. I've almost finished 1, and here I go. See you again soon. Enjoy your October. Talk soon. Bye-bye.